Good evening. Welcome to Pucknology After Dark. My name is Chris. You can find me at ChrisJWS on Twitter. I am here with AJ Strong. We are recapping the Sharks and Oilers game, and well, that was definitely an interesting one, wasn't it, AJ? I mean, a very interesting disallowed goals in obsession with the 5-hole and the shootout. I mean, this game had everything a hockey fan could possibly want. Uh, what are your thoughts?
Interesting game. Unfortunately, predictable. I had tweeted out very early on where it's like, Ducks, we got those guys, or Kings, we got that. Ducks, we own them. Chicago, oh, we shut that out. And then, of course, Edmonton comes in, and we forgot how to hockey.
Predictable was that?
It's just the predictability was just insane.
Sorry, I had a little headphone issue there. But it's like, yeah, how do you go from being three of the better teams in the league, or well, not standing wise completely, the Kings are a little bit back there, but still, they are the reigning champs. And then, I mean, we had a moment there in the third period for a while where they actually seemed to come to life. They seemed to start attacking. Even early, they were attacking a bit. It felt like possession was always going the other way. They couldn't sustain possession, and they could not slow down the Oilers in the neutral zone. It's like every time the Oilers hit the line, they were going full speed. They were cycling the puck. It's just very frustrating to watch tonight.
No, it was, and like I said, kind of go back to that hurdle goal being disallowed. I'm not really sure how that gets disallowed, and without that, or if it's actually allowed, obviously, if everything were to play out that way, then they would still get the win. But it's just amazing to me that they can shut out a superior Chicago team, but cannot deal with the Oilers, and it's that whole thing of playing down to your competition once again. I thought it was interesting how Larry Robinson called him soft. Well, didn't exactly said they were playing soft during the second intermission, and then that seemed to light a little bit of a fire under their butts for a while, but felt like they were going into a shell. Then it comes down to, I guess, that final tying goal. I'm not sure what the Sharks are doing. There's clearly a lack of communication. When Tennyson's floating around there for 30, 35 seconds with no stick, it was inevitable that the Oilers were going to figure out a way to get the tying tally and take it from there. But I'd really like to know what the hell Tennyson was doing, whether to make the hurry up and quick move to go get a stick, or to at least communicate with somebody down there to get a stick from one of the forwards. I don't know.
I think poor awareness in part on some of the forwards, and then I think it might also have been Tennyson. He should have been screaming for a stick. But about that disallowed goal, like if that's goaltender interference, like honestly, how many goals would get scored in the NHL? This would be like soccer scores. Every game would be 1-0. But that ain't none of my business, though.
Absolutely. And how snake bitten is Pavelski whenever he has two goals? That guy just cannot get that third goal, and he was on the doorstep. I mean, that puck goes 2 inches higher. It's just, come on, man. One of the things that was also pointed out on Twitter by more than a few people, whether it was Kurz or Pollock or whoever, the fact that Marlowe seemed to have gotten a demotion towards the latter part of this game, being bumped down to the third line, which I thought was interesting. And then he's the one, I believe, that set up Pavelski for what should have been the hat trick goal. That seemed to light a fire under him. It remains to be seen, but I thought that was interesting. When have we ever seen that?
Yeah, the line combinations were interesting to me. I mean, the later on in the game, but I noticed like early on, and even most of the game, the Couture line actually was not that good. It wasn't just Marlowe. I think that whole line was actually not very good at all. I mean, they were getting out attempted badly in terms, out attempted and outshot. Like they were not getting possession much. The third line was not doing a terrible job. They were actually holding their own. It was mostly the second and fourth lines that were just leaking like sieves. Well, in the fourth line, we've beaten that one to death many times. Apparently, Mr. Rabbit's Foot John Scott could not help us. Like, he is so lucky, but he's not so lucky he can't break the curse of the Oilers.
That's true. I'm a little surprised. Well, I shouldn't say surprised. I'm a little surprised about the whole rabbit's foot thing because he certainly has all of his detractors. Did he even see more than 4 minutes tonight? Because it certainly didn't feel like he was out there very long. Like it seemed as the game, and I'm assuming that's because it's a tight game, and you're not looking for Scott to be out there. In fact, I saw the score sheet after 7 goals had been scored, and he was, I think, one of 3 Sharks that weren't anywhere on the score sheet. So I'm thinking he definitely didn't see much time whatsoever.
Let me buy the box score here. John Scott, where is he? He saw a grand total of 6 minutes of ice time tonight. Him and Desjardins are the only guys I see there that are in single digits. Everyone else was at least 10 minutes. Even Kennedy, I think, 12 minutes. So even Tim Kennedy is getting more ice time than John Scott, although he actually has something to offer offensively. John Scott, not much. Desjardins, I feel kind of bad for him because he's kind of always the one who has to drag around the worst players we put out there on the ice.
Yeah. Well, when it comes down to the shootout that should not have been, looking at some of those shootouts, I was actually a little surprised they started off with Couture because, like as you were saying, I felt like Couture. This was one of Couture's worst games. He seemed to, I don't know whether it was disinterest, whether it was a Super Bowl party hangover, whatever it was. He definitely he seemed to kind of be lacking a little bit tonight. So I was a little surprised that's who they started with. One of the things that I also noticed a lot during the shootout, which always kind of like as if the shootout isn't irritating enough, but the fact that there was more than a few guys that they do that side to side saunter in, and it almost looked like they're just on the precipice of stopping momentum before they get off their shot. And you look at the Sharks' 1 goal in the shootout from Burns, it was pretty much a lot of speed. It was just come in there. Don't give the goalie any time to sit there and think about it or wait you out. You just take it down hard, jam it in. And like I had tweeted out just as I think we're into round 4 at this time, but I kept noticing Oilers guys kept looking towards Nemo's stick side, and I'm going, that's where that game winner is going to be. And after 13 rounds, Clean Camera pulls it off. A lot of 5-hole denied. And let's be honest, they did put 2 off the pipe in the shootout. That could have ended sooner. But yeah, I was pretty. I don't know. I was hoping for Marleau to get a little bit of redemption on the shootout. I thought that would have been nice. I did find it funny when Kennedy was coming in. I do believe Randy Hahn said something along the lines of, I think Kennedy's going to do something here, and then of course nothing. And then two shooters later, I believe it was God, who was it? I want to say Nieto. Baker said, I got a feeling about Nieto here, and then that didn't work either. So yeah, it's like,
the whole exercise was just like that was one of the more frustrating shootouts I've ever watched. Like I said, they didn't use speed barely at all, with 1 or 2 exceptions, and most of the guys who did come in with speed, other than Burns, they just didn't have the hands to be able to pull off those moves. So like all the most skilled guys, they kind of came in really slow. They kind of sauntered towards it, and then like they took a shot. Like they didn't get in close. They took a shot from well out at the 5-hole or something like that. Like get in close, use some of that skill, because it doesn't seem to track the puck all that great if you actually get up close and you make a couple good moves. But that was a very frustrating shootout to watch. And it was boring.
It was boring. It seemed, I don't know. It just seemed, I don't know. Everybody just seemed tapped. Like they were just spent. They were. Dear Lord, Irwin's. That was one of the laziest penalty shootout shot attempts I've ever seen. That was just what a whiff.
He doesn't have the hands to pull. He was trying. He was trying to pull a move down close, and he doesn't have the hands for it. Like he's not that guy.
And Hurdle's backhand was also kind of disappointing on the shoot. I was expecting a little something more interesting from him. But as they say, fun must be disallowed apparently in regulation.
Oh, I'm still trying to process how that goal. Because I remember I heard the whistle when that goal went, and I was like, oh crap. I just figured it's gonna be one of those. We lost track of the puck. We lost sight of it. Too bad. Intent to blow the whistle, but I don't know why they even went with this goaltender interference thing. They should have just gone with their usual excuses.
As soon as it happened, I went, oh crap, because I immediately noticed the official behind there waving it off, and Hahn at that point was still calling it a goal. Hurdle was still celebrating, and I'm going, nope, it's not a goal. They're waving it, and then that look on Hurdle's face, you're just like, oh dear Lord.
Really.
It's just another time. It's kind of like, wait a minute, I thought this is Tommy Wingles' issue, that he's the one that usually has the goals disallowed in those cases, but with him on the IR, I guess they're gonna pass it on to the next one.
Yes, with Wingles on the mend, someone's got to fill in there. So speaking of guys on the mend or not, Mirko Mueller, he was a healthy scratch tonight. What's going on there?
Maybe I have no idea. Maybe they like what they've seen from Irwin and Handon tonight. I believe I think it was Kersey, might have been Pollock. It was one of the beat guys did mention that they thought Handon and Irwin did look substantially better tonight. Although when you contrast and compare to the previous 3 games, you kind of go, well, when you're scratching the bottom, there's not a lot of places to go but up.
That and there were problems all over the place tonight. So
yeah.
I did comment at one point. I was like, when Tire Fire 2015 isn't even the lowlights of our defense, we're having a bad night. Clearly, when those guys, we're having a bad defensive night, and those guys aren't even on top of the list. It's a bad night.
Yeah, and it almost, I'd kind of be interested in seeing maybe they need to pull off one of those games where they go 7 D-man and try to switch things up and give Burns the option to, settle him back in D or let him play on forward a little bit, make some, try to do some, because Mueller does have some upside offensively, and I know Irwin has a little bit of that forward in him, so at least it gives you some, different looks to at least change things up. I liked seeing Burns come out of the box, on a forward rush where he was actually in the spot of a forward at that point. It was just like, oh yes, I remember this. This was a lot of fun to watch. If we only had another solid defenseman, that maybe they would even consider looking into it, but. I think you close the book on this, you move on. What if I recall correctly, which I probably don't, but isn't this the last time we faced the Oilers this season?
I think one more time. Let's see what the schedule says here. But I think there's one more. I know we're going to be.
Well, this is a team we faced 3 times over 5 games. So this is definitely the 4th time we've seen it.
We have one more matchup against them on April 9th, our second to last.
Oh, I hope to God that playoff seeding is not, paramount to that game.
We would be so screwed to be like, you had to win out to get in, and the Oilers on schedule.
It could be so paramount. Well, I guess you close the book and you move on.
So on the subject of moving on, we have the Flames and the Canucks coming up. And I mentioned this earlier on Twitter, but those 2 are within a couple points of us in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be some important games, and of course, naturally, we just feel the need to give away a point here tonight. We nearly gave away 2.
Yeah, are we going to see them, the Sharks, be a little upset and then start to step up and have some success against Calgary? I'm going to assume that during one of those games, and I would imagine Wednesday, we will see Stalock, since it is a back-to-back roadie. I think we're going to see Stalock in one of the next 2 games, so I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm also interested to see who they decide to start against Vancouver, because Miller in Vancouver is kind of taking it to them this season. At the very least, you got to win against Calgary. it's going to be tough. And then don't we have Carolina after that, who's another, team that's on the lower end that always seems to be able to bring it when the Sharks are in town.
Yep, and then the Flames once again. So those two matchups against the Flames are huge. They're 2 points behind us in the standings, same amount of games played. I still think they're probably going to fade even more. I mean, they've kind of had a resurgence lately, but I think they're going to fade eventually. But we still can't be giving away. They're having a resurgence right now. They're 7-3-0 in their last 10. So they had their dip for a while. They're playing better, but cannot afford to lose to them anymore.
I swear, looking at this, I don't know why the schedule. I know there's been quirks. Like last year, we were done with we were done with Vancouver before like Thanksgiving. We didn't see them anymore after Thanksgiving. Then this season, you've got the 3-5 versus Edmonton. You've got Calgary twice in a week. Like this is very. We could do a whole podcast, I think, on the the quirkiness of the scheduling and trying to figure out. There's got as the infomercial people tell you, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, and the good news with Vancouver is they are sliding lately. They're 4-6-0. Unfortunately, we will be on the second part of a back-to-back. I think they have 3 nights off before that. I checked the schedule earlier, but so. That seems like prime for a letdown, but they are a good team, so maybe the Sharks will come out on. It does seem to be the thing. If it's a good team, they can come out hard regardless of circumstance. If it's the Oilers, well, crap.
Yeah.
Why did they have to move them into our division? We see them way too often now.
Yeah, no, the more that we have, the more I see this divisional change going from the 6 divisions to 4. The more I don't know. I guess I don't like it as much. I think I preferred seeing Anaheim and LA more often, and maybe it's just a case of we have to get used to it and see it for a few more years to actually build up a bit more of a rivalry with the Western Canada teams. I mean, it's a very small sample size when it comes to facing them. I mean, of course, you have the the Torres on Mahalik 2006 playoff issue with Edmonton. You've got the sweeping Vancouver, but the puck off the stanchion, so there's some history there. And then, of course, Calgary in 2004, so there's a little bit there. But, 2004, but wasn't it, when was it, 07, 08, that great series with JR scratched in Game 6, and then he comes in and just has a whopper of a Game 7. So
4 points, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some history there. And speaking of former Sharks, we saw that Nabokov cleared waivers today and looks to be hanging him up. It's going to be disappointing. I'm not going to go all puck guy Ray Whitney teary-eyed, but I will say Navy's was one of my favorites. I'll never forget watching that game in Colorado, his debut. Just that back when there were ties in hockey, and to come in someone else's barn in your debut and go up against arguably the best goalie to play the game. I mean, Patrick Waugh, if he's not the best, what is it between him and Waugh, Brodeur, I mean, who else you want to throw in there? Hextall, Richter, there's several names, but to go up against Waugh, I mean, for me, Waugh's top 3, and to take him all to save for save, that was a great, I don't know. I think every Sharks fan was just kind of like, oh, we've finally gotten one, after seeing the seasons with Rudy and Shields and Vernon and Vernon on the back end. It was just like, oh, and so a decade of history. So
yeah, my favorite Nabby memory was 2008 playoffs. You remember that one sick save he made? I believe it was Owen Nolan. He made a couple 6 saves that series, but the one where you just see he's completely out, the overhead shot, he's completely out of the shot, and you just see this glove reach across the screen and snag the puck out of the air that was one of the most ridiculous saves I've ever seen. And then of course there's the clinic he put on in Dallas against Turco. Unfortunately he lost that one, but that was just That
Well,
was a sick, sick game.
that wicked save on Nolan was amazing. And then, of course, you'd be remiss. You cannot talk about Navy's history without talking about being the only goaltender in the NHL scoring a power play goal and in Vancouver. I mean, that was man,
Oh
that
yeah.
that was so much fun to be watching that night. When are you ever going to see that again? That was a history-making night. It appears we do have Puck Guy. For those of you that are watching, whether it's live or you're going to watch this later, Puck Guy was at the game tonight. He was, for some reason, I think he's having technical issues. He was not able to make it with us, but he apparently did hear my Ray Whitney tribute about comments and told me to shut up. So we won't discuss that anymore.
Yeah.
So what else we got?
Well, one final thought on Naby. I really hope the Sharks do, like, if he does hang him up, I hope the Sharks do something for him, like next season or something. Because, like, if you want to talk about a true blue homegrown guy who played a long time as a Shark, I mean, obviously there's a few guys that are going to fall in that category too that will, get that honor when they hang him up. But I think he's one of the guys that really played a long time in Teal, was a homegrown product and all that. So I hope they do something for him next season if he hangs it up.
Oh, they have to. In fact, I remember being at a game last year. Who was he with last year? It wasn't Tampa, was it? Was it New York?
It was the Islanders, or it was Tampa last year?
Okay.
I think it was the Islanders.
Yeah, so do I. But either way, I remember being at a game against the Islanders, and I'm pretty sure Naby was slated to start. He was supposed to, but ended up getting an injury the game before, or he got injured in the morning skate or whatnot. But I was at the game, and they actually, sometime I believe early in the second period, they did show him standing in the tunnel, in the visiting tunnel, and threw him up on the jumbotron, and the place went gonzo. So there's a lot of love. There's a few guys that if they show Ricci, they show Nolan, they show Urbe, they show Naby. Those are guys that doesn't matter. Heroes welcome every time they're mentioned. So I can something definitely has to happen next season. It doesn't. I thought he did some workouts here, but I don't know. Gonna miss the guy. He was a lot of fun to watch, and his interviews were always pretty fun.
Oh, those were the best. So, kind of one last thought on our homestand here. We ended up being 4-1-2. I think Eric may have predicted something like that, or it might have been like 5-1-1. Honestly, it should have been 5-1-1. But that's pretty decent homestand. They needed that. We have 2 games coming up on the road up in Western Canada, and then we have another 3-game homestand. So predictions for that, we have on the docket obviously the 2 Canadian teams, the Hurricanes, which is an automatic loss, the Flames, and the Capitals. What do you think in there?
The Capitals we're hosting.
Yeah, we're hosting Capitals.
Okay. Over those 5 games, I'd say I'll be, since Eric is not with us today, I will be optimist. I will be optimist prime, and I'll say 3-1-1. I think they drop one to Vancouver and maybe take one of the Calgary games to overtime, and they win the others. They beat Carolina, they beat Washington, and they take one of the Calgary games.
I'm going to be slightly optimistic as well. I'm going to say 3-2, which. And I'm making a bold prediction. I think they beat the Hurricanes.
Wow!
That's my bold prediction. I think they will actually beat a bottom feeder.
And now, you know why?
I'll look really dumb in a week when this is, when we're talking about the skin. But we'll see.
What would be very funny is if that's the game they get Mike Brown back, and there's your Rabbits fight.
Yeah, it's like double Rabbits feet. There, it's like two of the biggest Ophius Rabbits feet there are out there. It's like, what the heck? How did we lose tonight? We had John Scott in the lineup.
Well, and speaking of that, what do you think the changes will be? Because clearly McClellan likes to, for when it comes to setting lineups, it's kind of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. So essentially had the same lineup for L.A., Anaheim, Chicago, and then today, I would imagine McClellan's going to make some sort of change. Do we see the return of Mueller finally, and Hannon sits, or Irwin sits, or somebody sits on that bottom on Tire Fire 2015? Are we going to see John Scott sit? Are we going to see the call? I can't even remember the call up, but the kid that we called up to, I guess.
Tarasov.
Yeah. So are we going to see Tarasov? Are we going to see anybody? They also seem to be kind of. Wasn't McGinn a scratch tonight? But that was an injury, right?
It was an injury, yeah, from I believe that was last game. So.
But I got to say, I haven't been terribly impressed with McGinn for most of this season. I don't know why they're not, taking a look at a Tierney or who was the other kid? DeMello. I don't.
Tierney is Killian Worcester, so I think he's getting some good development there. I think they can afford, at least for now, but I think if they want to try and go anywhere when the playoffs come, I think they'd be better off with Tierney on the roster. So Irwin and Hannon actually got a lot more ice time tonight than they have previously. I think, the numbers seem to bear it out, and the eye test seemed to bear it out. They were at least passable tonight. They were definitely not, like I said, they were not the biggest problem on this team. So I don't think they actually end up out of the lineup. If anyone does, I think it might be Tennyson, actually. It wouldn't surprise me if he's. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but it wouldn't surprise me since he doesn't seem to get the leash those two do.
God, I just can't see. I think that would be a terrible decision. That would be like, having the ball on the 1 yard line with the best running back in the NFL and throwing it. That would be a terrible decision.
On that subject. Yes. Oh man, that was. Oh, I love that. That was fan-fucking-tastic. I was at a restaurant watching the end of that. There were a couple of Seahawks fans at the next table. I just remember had my Niners shirt on, yeah. You know who I'm rooting for, buddies. I didn't talk nothing too much, but their angst made me quite happy. I was very happy. I don't like the Patriots, but I hate the Seahawks. Anyways,
I'm in the exact same boat. I was at a pretty big Super Bowl party, and typically part of our parties, we've been doing this for a long time, but one of the deals with the party is everybody, you are asked when you come in who you're rooting for, and you're given beads to wear that coincide with that particular team's color. And out of the, 50 some odd people that they were there, I think I was one of maybe 6 people that were rooting for the Patriots. And now I have no idea why, because there were a lot of 49er fans out there, but I think it was more of a case of they didn't want to see Brady tie Montana and all that. And I'm explaining to them, I'm like, even if it happens 20 years from now, you look in Wikipedia on the Super Bowl, there's going to be a complete paragraph about deflated balls and all this other junk. I just, it's going with an asterisk. Montana was perfect, and he did it, in a much shorter amount of time, blah, blah, blah. But I'm in the same boat as you. It's like anybody but Seattle. I cannot stand the arrogance. The hubris of that team is palpable, and I can't even. But to see nothing was better to me than that 5-second GIF of Richard Sherman's face changing when he's looking at the scoreboard, and oh my God, I was in heaven.
Oh, that was lovely. What I was really rooting for, though, I was really rooting for Bane to show up and do his thing.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I really wanted there.
All rooting for that. All rooting for a Katy Perry wardrobe malfunction. And what do you think now? Now how's this for a segue? Getting back into our normal topic. What did you think about the mascot for the LA Kings trolling the San Jose Sharks, posting a screenshot of one of those dancing the left shark and saying, "Oh, look, the Sharks finally made it to a championship game." It's like, oh my God, all-time troll, man.
Not to admit that is.
It was funny.
credit where it's due, even if Bailey is a punk ass. Credit where it's due.
I have to say, I laughed. I said, "Oh man, you can't, and when it's good, and it's true. So that's why it's funny."
Gotta acknowledge, can't. Yeah.
But we're gonna cut it because since it's just the two of us tonight, we're probably gonna cut this a little short. I know Chris has got a big day tomorrow. I have a big day tomorrow, so we're gonna take it down a notch tonight, especially since we don't have the third member of the team. And to be honest with you, no one said anything in the chat window, and nobody's tweeted any questions. But we didn't really promote that anyway. So what are you gonna do? We'll do it. We'll try to hit that harder on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, right now we have it scheduled for Thursday night, unless I don't think plans are changing. But we're penciled in to go Thursday night after the game. Hopefully, like something like 9:45 to 11 or something. And
there you go.
Tweet us questions if you have them. Tweet us comments. Again, like I've said before, if your comments are as simple as "fuck the Ducks," we will absolutely read them. They'll probably get put right to the front of the line. Hashtag Pucknology After Dark.
There you go. And and that gives us the opportunity too to try to cover both the Calgary and the Vancouver game in one brief shot. As always, I know I would be remiss. Eric would probably have a Ray Whitney moment if we did not talk about the Sharks tweet up at the outdoor game. So remember, go to Puck. The Google Pucknology. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. It was a hell of a day.
Or tweet at PugGuy14, and I'm pretty sure he will gladly respond to you and fill you in the details. But by all means, if you're going to the game, ask him about it. Wear your teal. Meet up with other Sharks fans.
That is the most important thing. Wear teal.
What? Not black armor?
No black armor. Wear a lot of teal. Nobody wants to be mixed up for LA Kings fans, so wear your teal. And I'm excited. As it's getting closer, I am starting to get a little more excited for it. What about you?
Definitely. I was disappointed to find out, though, I do not have Epics on DirecTV, so I guess I will have to find a completely legitimate internet means of watching
completely legitimate.
Completely legit,
Well, I thought I read something
very legit, more legit than John Middlecoff.
I thought I read something that there was maybe you could stream the first episode for free or something. So I'm sure that there are some genuine ways to watch, take it all in. And another kind of a final thought. For most Sharks fans that have ever talked to me know that I have a pretty good hatred boner for the local radio stations because they never talk the Sharks, which is very pisses me off, to be honest with you. It's like you can pay attention to them once in a while, for the love of Christ, instead of talking about I don't know, what was it a couple years ago? It's like we're going to spend every show talking about Steph Curry's ankle, but we're going to completely disregard the Sharks. So anyway, I noticed today, 50 games in, or today was 51, right? Was game 51?
Yeah, game 51 today.
All right, so 51 games in 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, and Brody Brazil finally made a hockey appearance on the FM sports station, apparently, and I've heard that KMBR is going to start talking up some stuff, so pay attention to Tolbert. I bet you he's going to have something soon.
He's had Drew Amenda on a few times actually this season.
Exactly. I think you might see that ramp up with the obviously as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. But Brody Brazil sightings on the FM channel, so hopefully they'll promote it so the Sharks fans are aware of it and can actually tune in and hear it. So I'm assuming he's going to be on the same shows on the same days every week, or let's be honest, he'll just be on once a week because that's about how much love the Sharks get. I was impressed that they did have an interview with I can't even remember. The Milkman, Carlson, you know who I'm talking about. They did have an interview with him today on Yahoo Sports Talk Live, so that was nice.
Very cool. So I think that about does it. We will be back again on Thursday night after the Canucks game, hopefully discussing 2 wins. Hopefully it'll be boring because we don't have too much to talk about other than ranting and raving and happiness. But that's usually not the way these things go. We can never do anything the easy way. So I'm sure we'll have a great time. Absolutely tune in. Send us your comments. Pucknology After Dark is the hashtag. It's Chris JWS signing off with AJ Strong here.
AJ Strong. I'm sorry. I lost all strength, man. I gotta go.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Peace the fuck out.